Welcome back to Von Blues Boxing, man. What's going on with everybody? Hold on, let me bring the camera back that way. No. What's going on with everybody, man? So, let's get into it. Last night's 4-belt undisputed fight between Brian Castano and Jermell Charlo. So let's get into it. But before I start, before I get my thoughts about the fight, my post-fight thoughts and things of that nature, and my opinions on it, let me say, shout out to Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano for putting on this fight. This is what boxing is about. It's about the best boxers fighting each other, about the champions getting in the ring in each other. And these are the type of fights that we need more in boxing. Definitely, we know that. But I just want to say, before I get into it, shout out to Brian Castano. Shout out to Jermell Charlo. You guys are excellent fighters. You guys are warriors. And thank you for putting on that fight and risking it all for us, the fans. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all. But, so let's get into it. Last night's fight, controversy. One of the judges had it 117-110 for Jermell Charlo. Now, as you see, I'm a Jermell Charlo fan. You see it, Lions only, got the jacket, everything. So you know this. I'm a Jermell Charlo fan. So I know some of y'all might find it biased, what I'm saying, but this is not coming from a biased opinion. You know what I'm saying? I can't be biased. I'm not going to pretend in front. That's how the sport is. I can be biased at times. But in this situation, no. It shouldn't have been 117-110 Charlo. No, that was bad judging, but we've seen this in these type of level of fights, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute. But 117-110, no. You know, you could have went, honestly, it could have been 115-113 Castano, 114-113 Charlo, or 114-114 a draw. You know, it could have been that. It could have went either way. I wouldn't have been mad at that. But the 117-110, that stuff has to stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jermell didn't win. If Jermell won that fight, it wasn't no 117-110. If anything, if you gave the fight to Jermell, 114-113. Or if you would have gave it to Castano, 115-113, 7-5. Okay, cool. No issue with it, even from a Jermell Charlo fan. But we've seen this happen in boxing, and I'm going to give you some good examples of this. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G, the first and the second fight. People found it controversial. I was even one of them. Oh, Canelo lost the first fight. Oh, I was doing all that stuff too. So I know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? Blaming the fighter, but we shouldn't blame the fighter. But let me keep going. We had Marquez and Manny Pacquiao, 2 and 3. That's why they fought 4 fights, because the second and third fight, people thought that Marquez won those fights. I thought he won the third fight. Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev won. People still talk about that today. There's people that still think Kovalev won the first fight. But let me keep going. Evander Holyfield versus Lennox Lewis, the first fight. Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. People talk about that. That fight is almost 40 years plus, almost 40 years ago. Almost getting up there to 40 years ago. And people still talk about that fight, the controversy in that. Oscar De La Hoya versus Felix Trinidad. De La Hoya was the A side in that fight, but Felix Trinidad got the nod. Let me give you another example of another fight. Let me see. Oh, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury won. There's a ton of people that thought Fury won the first fight. Now, this does happen in the sport. You know, anytime it's a close fight like that, they gonna give it to the A side. Now, is it right? No. Is it right? Give award the fighter that won that fight the fight. You know, but, Floyd Mayweather and Castillo won. That's another one that comes to mind. You know, so we've seen this with some of our favorite fighters get awarded some controversial ones. Canelo and Lara. We've seen this. And this ain't the first time this has happened in boxing. This has happened a ton of times. Is it right? No. But we know, we aware. You got to be aware of that. That's just how the game goes. You know what I'm saying? And in my opinion, that, throughout this fight, I see where where some people think Jermell won this fight, and where the majority think Castano won this fight. I understand it. Castano was the busier fighter. He landed more punches. I get it. But in the fight, Castano usually would go on attack the last 40, 30 seconds of a round, or the last minute. He would get his shoe shining on. He did a little bit of shoe shining. Very intelligent fighter. Shout out to Ray Leonard. They even talked about this in the fight. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand, Jermell would control, the first half of the rounds and stuff like that. But then Castano would come on strong late. He rocked Jermell, almost putting down. The rope saved him. I'm not going to even front. But Jermell almost stopped Castano 3 times in the fight. He rocked him 3 times. So I can understand both sides. I understand both sides on this one. I do. I understand majority of people think Brian Castano won, but I understand the minority that think Jermell Charlo won the fight. I get it. It was a very, very, very close fight. But we're going to get a rematch, guys. Jermell Charlo said he's down to do it. Brian Castano's down to do it. Al Heyman and PBC and Fox and Showtime see that now this fight can make good money in the second rematch, which I think is going to do well, and it could be on pay-per-view if you put the card right together. Al Heyman and PBC put a nice card together, put some notable names on that card in the second fight, and we're going to get the rematch. So I understand people's frustration with this, because I've been on the same side too. I had to catch myself last night because I was a little salty. You know what I'm saying? I go front. I was a little salty, but boy, that's my guy. You see it? You know what I'm saying? That's my guy. So I was a little salty. Last night, but at the same time, my thing is, don't shit on Jermell Charlo because of this fight. Don't blame Jermell Charlo for the judges. He ain't got nothing to do with that. He can't control what the judges think. He can't. Jermell just cannot do that. So it's not his fault that the judges picked that fight. Now, another controversial thing in this fight, the 10-8 round. Now, to me, I know in boxing, you don't not have to knock down a guy to get a 10-8 round if you dominate him in the round. To me, I didn't think it was a 10-8 round, but the judge, in boxing, you can't get a 10-8 round if you dominate the round so much that, it was a 10-8 round. That can happen. It's in the rule books of boxing. You can have a 10-8 round without getting a knockdown. But to me, nah, it wasn't a 10-8 round. Jermell dominated that round, but it wasn't a 10-8 round. So, but another thing I want to talk about is, for years, if you look at my channel, I've only been on YouTube. I only had a YouTube channel for a year, but I've been saying this for years. Brian Castano is no run-of-the-mill fighter. He's an elite, high-level boxer, and people got to see that because a lot of people didn't know who Brian Castano. Maybe some of the hardcore fans didn't know. Definitely casuals didn't know who he was. But I've been beating the drum for this dude for a long time, and this is coming from a Jermell Charlo fan. I've been telling people Brian Castano is elite. He's dangerous, bro. He doesn't have the resume, the big name resume, but that should be also a lesson. Just because a fighter don't have a resume don't mean they're elite boxers and they can't beat the other elites. Sometimes it just comes down to fighters not wanting to get in the ring with them. For real. Sometimes the fighters don't want to get in the ring. Either it's, the money part, or this guy doesn't bring in this, or the style just don't work. It's always some kind of form of excuse. But that's why the fight went the way it went. And you got to give Brian Castano his props. But don't shit on Jermell Charlo. It's not his fault. You don't got to rag on him and talk down about the man and all this. He put on a good fight. That was a hell of a fight. It's Fight of the Year candidate. What else do we want from boxing? You know what I'm saying? Fans, we always complain about the best fighters not fighting him. But then when they fight, it's some controversy. Then it's issues. Then we want to shit on the A-side fighter. It always happens. It always happens. The A-side fighter, if he gets a close decision or it's a controversial fight, they're going to shit on the A-side fighter. Always happens. But it was a great fight, and I understand both sides. I understand the majority thinking that Castano won this fight, but I also understand the minority that think it was a draw or think Jermell won this fight. I see both parts. I understand it. See, the thing about me, I'm open to listen to everybody. I'm not the type of person that's going to shut down what you're talking about. I'm open to listening to it. And That's just what it was. It was a great fight, and I appreciate them for putting this fight on. There will be a rematch. And the reality is both fighters have to make adjustments. And if you look in my prediction video for the Brian Castano Jermell Charlo fight, you'll see that I've said that Jermell Charlo needs to stay off the ropes. He needs to tie up and things of that nature and keep the fight in the center of the ring. And that's what happened. He needed to do that, you know, but he didn't stay off the ropes. So he made, you know, with a guy like Brian Castano, who's 5'7", who has a low center of gravity, and who can get in the inside and mix it up like that, you don't want to be on the ropes with him. That's where he does his best work, when he backs you up towards the ropes. Even if he don't got you on the ropes, that's where he does his best work. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Jermell needed to fight you. When he would throw straight punches, he would connect. He would connect. Every time he would throw straight punches, he would connect. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I didn't like, Jermell did land that left hook and he hurt him, but I didn't want Jermell. And I said this in my previous video, he don't need to be throwing hooks like that, because Castano, the left hook was landing, but Castano can, when Castano dip, he's 5'7", man. That man can get low. You gonna miss him. You're gonna miss him, especially being a taller fighter. You're going to miss him when he dips down low like that. You're not gonna catch him cleanly. You got to time Brian Castano, and that's what I said. Timing would be key in this fight too. But this is how the fight game is, man. So instead of trashing Jermell Charlo, go ahead and trash the judges. You know what I'm saying? But your favorite fighters have got controversial decision wins, just like I just said in the video. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I'm happy that we got to see those two fight, and we're going to get a rematch, because now Al Heyman, the PBC, Fox, Showtime, they see that fight as marketable. You best believe they're going to do a rematch for that fight, because now they're going to make more money. There's going to be more eyes on that fight. People are going to talk about it. They're going to go back and forth on YouTube and social media and everything, and the barbershops and everything. They're going to go back and forth about it. You know what I'm saying? But one thing about boxing, controversy sells. We know that. But yeah, great fight. And another thing is, this is the last part of this is it. This is all I got. My thoughts and opinions on the fight. Shout out to Derek James and Brian Castano's father. They were giving great information and feedback to their fighters. Great information and feedback to the fighters, and was very realistic with them. Brian Castano father and Derek James needs to be saluted too, because great instructions, very realistic with both fighters throughout the fight. Didn't lie to them, didn't have them sugarcoat anything. Gave them both great instructions. So I wanted to give shouts out to Papa Castano and Derek James. You guys did a hell of a job in the corner. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the fight and opinions. You know, go ahead and leave some comments. I know some people gonna get on me up in them comments. It's all good. I ain't tripping. But yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to give my thoughts and opinions on it. Von Blues Boxing. I'm out.